All right, everybody. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining. Right now, we are in webinar presentation mode, so your mics are automatically muted. In fact, I don't think you can actually join the audio at all. But what we will do toward the end of the session is actually open it up to participant conversation questions, so we can unmute your mics toward the end of this session. Hopefully, we'll go about 45 minutes or so of us talking, and then we will get you guys into that Q&A session toward the end. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So this is the Securing the Modern Data Center 27 virtual webinar. My name is Andrew Grismore. I'm a senior consultant, vExpert in NSX, and I work for 27 Virtual. But also today we have Brian Heili from VMware joining us, and he is a network security solution engineer. And he's actually here to join us as a special guest to get us into some of the more new and the latest capabilities associated with VMware from a security standpoint. And he's actually got a really special demo to show us as well. So Brian, thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for everybody joining.
All right, so just a couple of things I want to go over before we do get started. I want to give you guys a quick introduction to 27 Virtual. So 27 Virtual is a multifaceted company, but we really just specialize in VMware, and our origins come from NSX. So the people who founded 27 Virtual were a couple of NSX instructors. So we would actually teach the classes, if you've ever taken a VMware install, configure, manage, or troubleshooting or design course, we taught all of those. We also ran the VMware NSX Ninja program, if you've ever heard of that. So we got our start from teaching, including the vSphere classes as well. And as we started to teach the brand new NSX product and its capabilities, we started to see more and more that customers, needed a leg up, needed some assistance with it. So we decided to take our book smarts to the streets and start actually working with customers doing real world deployments of NSX. We've since expanded beyond just NSX into the more advanced capabilities of VMware, like vRealize automation and operations, the cloud capabilities, vSAN, and so on. We also have done multiple Horizon deployments. So we've expanded our capabilities, but still focused on the VMware side, and our origins really come from that NSX knowledge and then taking it to our customers. So that's a little bit about us. What we're doing right now, a lot of are NSX V to T migrations. So if you're a customer that's on NSX V and are wondering how you get to T, we've done webinars on that as well. Feel free to check out the website to see it. But if you're in that scenario, feel free to contact us. We got a bunch of those going on right now, as well as a lot of these security deployments. And as we see the security capabilities from VMware evolve and move forward, we're spending a lot of time with our customers on that as well, and have plenty of experience around it since the very beginning of the distributed firewall. So that being said, that's where our capabilities lie, is really in those advanced VMware products and services surrounding NSX, security, vRealize automation, cloud native applications. So that's where our specialties lie. Now, as we get into the conversation, we're actually going to pass it over to Brian first, because it was a little bit of a late development, but we actually got him on board for this webinar so that we can get a full demo of some of the newer capabilities associated with security from a VMware standpoint. And then we'll take it back to my side of the conversation, where we'll talk about 27 Virtual, our services, and what we can do with these new capabilities. So Brian, I will hand it off to you as we go forward.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Hopefully everybody's ready. I've got like 87 slides, I think. What was that, Andrew? What's something like that? All seriousness, we just have this one slide, and I'm going to switch straight over into a demo of what we're doing here. So what I want to give everybody is an update on what VMware has been doing here. Let's call it the past year, with a focus on securing the modern data center, and specifically, what have we done with the NSX security portfolio? And what we're seeing in engagements, whether it's with partners like 27 Virtual or our individual one-on-one interactions with our customer base, we're seeing that north of 80% of the traffic inside the data center is now east-west, and this has been a a shift from the traffic patterns we've seen just a few years ago as applications begin to change and they get modernized and this whole, quote, digital transformation effect takes place. So that makes this east-west traffic the new battleground. So what VMware has done is put an intense focus, almost you could say doubling down on providing security to solve the issues that are facing everyone in this modern data center world. So what we've done here is we've taken what most of you probably have been aware of, and that is the layer 7 distributed firewall capability of NSX, that capability that allows us to put a virtual firewall on every VM, prevent lateral movement, and give you full visibility within your data center. And we've layered on some additional advanced threat capabilities around things like IDS, IPS, network traffic analysis, and sandboxing, which we'll get into here in a few minutes. But what we've also done, not just with product capabilities, but also go to market. We've now made it to where you can consume just the NSX security capabilities from a product procurement perspective. In other words, if you like that distributed firewall capability, that's all you want to consume, you can purchase just that capability. If you want to layer on some of the advanced threat capabilities that I'll show you here shortly, you can do that too, all without requiring you to do anything in terms of network changes. No changes to the physical network. You don't need to change the IP addresses of your VMs, so on and so forth. So we've added new capabilities as well as a new kind of go-to-market mechanism to make this happen. So while we're doing this, I'm going to switch over here and I'm going to start sharing once Andrew stops, and we'll get straight into the demo environment. I'll also just remind everybody, if you've got some questions that are lingering as we go on through this demo, please put them in the Q&A panel. If I can get to them during the demo, I will. Otherwise, I'll answer them as we go along. And obviously, at the end, we'll make sure that we get these taken care of. So let's walk through these capabilities. Let's start with just a review, because I'm sure with the size of audience we have here, there's probably one or two of you that are going, hey, Brian, this is great. Never heard of distributed firewall. How does it work? So this capability is foundational to what we're doing to secure the modern data center. So what we're able to accomplish with this layer 7 firewall is to fully distribute it inside the hypervisor. This means once it's deployed on the host, every one of my VMs now gets its own firewall that we can manage with much simpler policy constructs. And we've made it even easier by implementing what I would consider kind of a prescriptive process to get quick and easy segmentation wins in your data center. So we're able to do things like create segmentation policies that simply allow my production traffic to talk to other production traffic, but my development VMs, if you will, can't talk to production. And we can do this with simple rules. So I can create sources and destinations that are not managed based on IP addresses, but by the context and the workload characteristics that we get by virtue of being in the hypervisor. So I can create a dynamic security group. In this case, I call it my prod workloads group. And I have it set up so that if one of my VMs that I consider production has a tag applied to it, anybody that's worked with public cloud providers know the concept of tags. Everything gets a tag. Well, we can leverage within NSX a security tag. In this case, I have one that says this application, this VM is part of production. Or I can say, hey, I've got a virtual machine that the name begins with prod. If either one of those criteria are met, that VM is going to automatically be put in that production workload group, which means now it is going to get automatically these policies applied to it. Nowhere in here have we harmed any IP addresses. In fact, we don't really care what the IP address is. We don't care which vSphere host this reside on, because once it's applied, that workload can move anywhere in the environment and the policies are going to follow it. I can apply this to things like compliance mandates as well. So, if you've got PCI versus non-PCI, pick your favorite compliance requirement. I can tag those workloads as being one compliance in scope, one's out of scope, and they're automatically going to get the right policies applied. So you can quickly and easily get segmentation goals, create those guardrails within your data center, reduce the blast radius in case something happens, and prevent that lateral movement. So this is foundational to everything that we're building in terms of security capabilities. So once I've created those course guardrails, I can now focus things like that app level or that proverbial micro segmentation approach to securing my applications. So here I have an example application that I said, hey, it's a 3-tier app. I want to give it the least privilege possible because I want to get my organization and my data center as close to a zero trust security posture as I possibly can. So here I've gone in and I'm only allowing certain ports and protocols to each of my app tiers. Again, no IP addresses are necessary to create these policies. Once my web servers get the web tag, they're automatically going to get these policies applied. And here you can see at the end, we've got a default drop. So if my 3-tier app traffic does not hit one of these allow buckets, it's just going to get dropped. So providing the least privilege possible, we've reduced the amount of lateral movement communication to this app. With what we're all experiencing now with remote users and attendees and accessors of information, virtual desktops have skyrocketed in terms of use. It also means that they've skyrocketed as a way for attackers to gain access to your infrastructure. We can use these same concepts to say now I can create one policy that my VDI desktops can't talk to each other. So no lateral communication, which means malware can't spread via those VDI desktops to VDI desktops. So this distributed firewall capability doesn't require network changes and helps us build that foundation for the next piece. Kind of back to that slide. Step 1 was that segmentation. Step 2, let's look at adding some advanced threat capabilities that we've incorporated inside of NSX. So just like the layer 7 firewall capabilities distributed, we now can turn on, just with a couple of clicks, distributed IDS and IPS. From an operational perspective, the deployment's, it's really simple. And just as important, we are not requiring you to go out and do any of the complicated span, taps, port mirrors, and the like to get traffic out to an external complex of traditional IDS appliances. We can do this all within the hypervisor. So what we're looking at here is a rolling 14-day window of events that have occurred, specific intrusions in the environment, and I'll walk through kind of how this looks and kind of the setup here moving forward. So I'm going to look specifically at, I've got a couple of events. So we can mouse over this and highlight and say, hey, I've got some high, I've got some critical. I'm going to just focus on a couple of those here for the interest of time. I have one where we can see that there is a specific CVE that's being leveraged to attack my couch database VM inside my data center. We can see the criticality. We can get a link to the CVE details if we like. But more interesting is we're able to quickly correlate, again, because we're distributed. We see all of the packets. We see the context of the VM. We can quickly correlate the VMs that are affected in this particular attack. All I have to do is click on it and see that my production app 1 web and app tier were all part of this specific CouchDB vulnerability. I can see specifically the attacker and the target information. We expose this to you, including the traffic direction. Maybe there's an attack that is exfiltrating data out of a particular target. We would be able to see that traffic flow and the amount of traffic. And we can quickly go on this specific detected event and get more details on the full intrusion history for that particular day. So we can see more details on exactly what is going on with that specific event. Now, I said this was really simple to deploy. We've done a lot to be able to layer this on that distributed firewall capability. So much so that all it takes to turn this on, in addition to a license, you should come over here and you enable it for whatever clusters that you want. It's that simple. We don't have to install other software. All we have to do is enable the capability, which will then turn it on for us to do configurations. And we can manage the signatures that are super critical for detecting this known bad traffic by creating interesting groups of the signatures based on my workloads. So I know I have my application servers, and I know I have specific apps that are running. Why can't I not just pick the signatures based on the applications that I know are running? Well, in this case, in this profile of signatures, I've done exactly that. I've gone in and I've created a new profile and say, yep, I have this one, I have this one, I have this, yep, all of those applications are running in my app servers. So pick all of the signatures from our curated list that apply to those application servers. And I've done the same thing with database and some other examples. Then I can take those groups of signatures and I can apply them to interesting traffic. I don't have to take everything from a specific host. I don't have to take all of my VM traffic and send it to IDS if I don't need to. If there's no reason for certain traffic to get evaluated, let's not waste the compute cycles to do it. So here I can say, just for my production traffic, I want to apply my application signatures to my app servers. We saw this earlier. These are the exact same NSX groups. We're leveraging the same work that we did previously to set this up to simplify operations. So I can do the same thing with the database server. So it makes it really easy to enable IDS and start applying it to interesting traffic that we have. So distributed firewall, we've enabled IDS, and I could even turn on prevention if I wanted to actually drop the traffic. But then we also added the network anomaly detection and the network sandboxing or file analysis capability. So I'm going to give you a quick look at those capabilities next. So in our backend, globally, in all our deployments of our file analysis, we get north of 5 million different events and samples a day. So this collective large number of samples, and it continues to increase as new OEMs come on board and new customers send traffic. This allows us to provide a more robust analysis of the files that are moving within your infrastructure. In addition, when we turn on the anomaly detection sensors and we turn on the file analysis within your data center or your public cloud deployments or your physical network environment, a critical capability that we bring is we can quickly correlate all the different events, all these different activities that are going on in your environment into one view. So we're going to show you the anomalies. What traffic is just out of the ordinary? We're going to call out specific file analysis events. Did somebody download a piece of malware, and what is that malware? And we're going to do this to help you correlate these events together into something that's meaningful. It's not just a bunch of, hundreds, if not thousands of alerts you have to sift through. We want to make sure that we can quickly correlate it so you can actually take action. And we're going to look at a specific example of this now. So what we're showing here is what we call a campaign. And a campaign is a collection of events, of signature hits, of file analysis, of anomaly detection that we've collectively put together and say, these are all part of one, global event and thing that happens inside a data center. So we're going to call out quickly, hey, you might want to take a peek because we're detecting in this campaign, there are 9 threats that are active that we're seeing. We're going to call out specifically the hosts that are involved. In this case, we have 3 that are actively involved in a specific campaign. And as is, more and more important as a security framework, we're going to align what's going on to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So you can see at the various stages what is going on. If I scroll down here a little bit, we'll get to a little bit more of the interesting view of this specific campaign. So we're going to call out this visual blueprint of all the events that are happening in the particular environment. So we can see that this particular endpoint, this IP endpoint, who is in our internal network, that's the home icon there, has done a malicious binary download. This is that sandbox event. So we've detected that they have downloaded a file, and we have gone through the process of analyzing. Well, then we see also that there was a signature hit that was out to a known command and control IP that's external to this data center. And then we see some other things happen. Oh, we have a suspicious data upload that's occurred. We've never seen this before in this particular environment, so we're going to call it out. So you can think of these anomalies are like symptoms. So if we have just one, and maybe not a big deal, maybe two gets a little suspicious, but when we start seeing a bunch of these symptoms, then we can begin to correlate all these things together and ultimately call out, hey, this is an Emotet outbreak that is beginning inside the data center. So we're not going to automatically assume, in what we see here, that every one of these anomalies is bad. When a new endpoint comes into existence and it starts accessing stuff, that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It needs to, we need to learn and get a bigger picture in the context of everything that's going on. So out of the gate, a remote task scheduling event, maybe not that big a deal. But when we were able to correlate it back to a known endpoint that has been compromised, well, then that raises the alerts, the flags, and we can begin to keep track of what we're doing and combine this into one view. Ultimately, we want to bring relevance on what we show. And this is different than just having, a whole bunch of red blinky lights in a SOC saying, there's something bad happening. We can give you tangible intelligence to work on. So like I said earlier, we can do this a deployment in the on-prem data center. We can do this in public clouds. All of these capabilities are fully deployable in those specific environments. So that's the blueprint view. So we can visually stitch things together and see what's going on. I'm going to get my mouse to cooperate. And I'll also say that we can show you more than just this campaign view. We can give you the full history via the timeline. And I'll close this for a second. You can see I've sorted by earliest. So this is the very beginning of this event, and it's gone on and progressed. So we can see that the user Bob Jones has gone in, and we can see the full evidence of what's happened. I mean, this is getting into the realm of the incident investigator now. So what is it that they can go look at to see what's going on? I could click on this, and it's going to pull up more detail about the rule, the signature rule that was hit that triggered this particular thing. So not only can we show you the timeline, but we want to give you the details that you can be confident about what's going on in this particular environment. We give you the hosts that were involved, the threats that are involved, again, aligning to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. We're going to give you the raw history. Again, this helps the investigation team immensely. Full history. We're going to give you the absolute raw evidence that we gathered down to the PCAP. So that packet capture that can be shared with the investigation team, because we firmly believe that the better the evidence and the faster that evidence is available, the better and quicker your reaction and remediation can be. And then we're also going to call out the specific incidents that those specific hosts that we called out earlier were involved in. So we can quickly go in an investigation from this blueprint view all the way down to the details needed for you to complete an investigation. So we have that framework, that foundation of the distributed firewall. We can layer on distributed IDS. And then we can also take it a step further now where needed and enhance your visibility inside your environments by layering on that network traffic analysis, so we can do that anomaly detection, and also the network sandboxing, so that file analysis mechanism, so we can see, is there malware that's going into this environment and what is it doing, and correlate these events. So I'm going to stop there because as part of the VMware at 27 Virtual Partnership, we're going to be scheduling an upcoming really intense deep dive into these specific things, so we can dig even more into what's an investigation look like, how easy do we make it, how can we do better threat intelligence investigations, what's a file analysis look like, and all those capabilities. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. I appreciate everybody's time, giving you an update on what we're doing in the network security realm to help secure that modern data center. So thanks again. Back to you, Andrew.
How awesome was that? Thanks, Brian, so much for hopping on and sharing that with us. So I'll give you guys a chance if you have any questions. There is a Q&A section in the Zoom where you can hop in and type any questions that you have or thoughts for Brian or myself. So I'll tell you guys a quick story before we hop into the rest of the slide deck. But I mean, that was really, really impressive. So go ahead and ask any questions if you have them. I see one already popping in. So feel free to ask any questions that you have. But this really just takes me back because of seeing how much the product has evolved from going from the base distributed firewall that it was when NSX came out to now all of these advanced capabilities. It really just takes me back to a conversation that we had at VMworld back when it was in Las Vegas, I think about 4 years ago now. And I was actually participating in the VMware Instructor Day, and we always get 15 or so minutes, maybe a little bit longer, with the CEO, and at the time it was Pat Gelsinger. And there were some questions that came up around what is the future of security from a VMware perspective? What are we going to do from an education side? Are we going to create more classes around what's going on with NSX and the distributed firewall? And very quickly, he went through a story about how his top customers were using tons and tons of security vendors to try and accomplish locking down this east-west security. And it was really difficult. And he said, it only makes sense for VMware to advance its capabilities in the security realm, because if you think about it, these virtual machines, these workloads are running on the VMware hypervisor. So the distributed firewall was always only the beginning, and now we're really starting to see the fruits of that development and the time and effort that was put in to add to the security capabilities from a VMware perspective. And nobody's going to use the hypervisor, has the capability to even access the hypervisor like VMware does. So it's just something to think about, and impressive to see the developments as we've gone forward. And doesn't look like we have any questions yet necessarily, but let's see. We will open it up to some open mic as well once we get into the later portion of this conversation. So let me share my screen one more time. We'll talk a little bit about what 27 Virtual has to add to the conversation here, but really, really cool stuff, Brian. So thank you again for sharing that. And like he said, this was all just a teaser. So hopefully you guys are staying in contact with us, because we are going to put on another webinar where we go a little bit deeper into that sandboxing capability and dive into some of those capabilities a little bit more. So stay tuned for that, and can't wait for you all to see more of it. But yeah, so what it comes down to is what 27 Virtual provides is actually providing the ability to consume all of these really cool capabilities. So this is just a quick sketch that, it's something that we would probably do on one of our first calls with one of our prospective customers, or as we get into one of these security projects, just talking about base level micro-segmentation with the distributed firewall. But to me, to take advantage of this east-west capability that we're going to get at the VNIC of our virtual machines, that can be very powerful, very widespread, is to create a strategy around what we want this security to look like. What do we want the distributed firewall to do as far as segmentation and enforcement? What do we want to be looking at in terms of flows from an IDS IPS consideration? And what we do is we spend time with you when it comes to these security projects and engagements, determining what that strategy is going to be, building out a hierarchy that's going to allow you to consume this in a way that's usable, manageable, and scalable for your environment going forward. Because there's not ever going to be a one size fits all. This is exactly what it's going to look like for every customer when it comes to security, because you're all doing something different. Every environment's going to be slightly different. The goals and the data that we're trying to secure is going to be different. So what we do, if you engage with 27 Virtual, is really tailor an approach to your specific environment so that we can accomplish your business goals, whether it be some sort of compliance, again, adding the capability like the IDS IPS, or bringing that down to the level of the hypervisor, even just approaching the topic of east-west security in general as we begin that conversation, and maybe get some quick wins of reducing the attack scope in your environment with some large groups like what we see in here, the dev, the UAT, the prod groups, to quickly reduce that attack scope so that if something were to somehow get into one of these workloads, malware, what have you, it's going to be contained within a smaller group of that environment, and that you're going to have that security there. So it's just a matter of what each individual customer wants to accomplish, but we have the ability to tailor that approach for you. And to me, it's all about that initial setup. A lot of times our engagements, what we do is when we come in, we try and get that initial setup and hierarchy done, teach you guys how to consume this so that you can scale out to the rest of your environment, and then allow you to run with it and secure, applications 3, 4, and 5 after we've done 1 and 2, for example. So just an idea of what it could look like as you start to have the conversation of what is this actually going to entail? What is this going to look like? We can start grouping, we can start tagging, analyzing flows, and building out policy from there. So to me, what we do is we really allow you to transform how you operate on a day-to-day basis from today going forward as you add in these new capabilities. Because if you're going to be looking at east-west segmentation and the advanced security capabilities that we have here, you may not be doing that to start with. So it's going to be a change in the processes, even from the beginning of, let's say, deploying a virtual workload, where in order to add that VM to the correct group, it needs to have the correct name, maybe, or a tag associated with it. So we're going to take you from maybe not having this at all, or doing it in an antiquated style way. Maybe you're passing all of your east-west traffic through some type of physical firewalling device so that you can at least segment between your different subnets that you have. Well, this changes that. It brings it down to the hypervisor level. So we're going to change how you were doing things, bring it up to the new way of doing it, the better way that we have now with these new capabilities, move from a process that's really difficult to manage, hard to even implement in the first place, to something that gives you these capabilities, and then change the way that you actually operate by incorporating these security capabilities into everything that you do day to day. I see a couple of questions, so I'm going to pause here for just a second so that we can start to take a look. And I see Erica and Brian are answering some questions. Brian, was that you? You want to take it?
Yep. Actually, let's do this one live. Be easier than typing. So one question that's getting asked is, back to the traffic learning. What do we have basically to use if we don't know what a flow would look like? So part of the packaging within NSX and the new security offering specifically is we include within NSX itself a solution called NSX Intelligence that Once it's deployed along with NSX, we'll give you full packet by packet and flow information to where you can see not only the point in time security posture, what is being allowed, what's being blocked, what's unprotected, but also gives you an option that you can do firewall policy recommendations right there in the UI. So I can pick an application and have it go through and suggest those firewall policies. And another follow-on question: how does this differ from VRNI? VRNI, or vRealized Network Insight, is a product that is external to NSX. It is deployed outside, leverages not only third-party but also the NetFlow capabilities of the hosts themselves to provide visibility into traffic flows as well as policy recommendations from outside the context of NSX. So those would be the two kind of nuanced options that you could leverage.
Awesome. And I think the last piece is that an add-on feature for intelligence, or does it come with a specific version or license
So for
level?
NSX Intelligence comes with all versions of the new security packaging. So if you buy just the base layer 7 distributed firewall, it also includes NSX Intelligence as well as advanced threat option.
Perfect. And maybe we can display some of that towards the end, so we can get into some of that. So yeah, stick around, guys, if you have more questions. I've got about no more than 5 or 10 minutes worth of content here to go over. And then I want to hear from you guys, and we'll get into some more conversations. So stick around for that if you have questions. And there is something cool that I want to show everybody as well, just an offering that 27 Virtual has that I think might interest quite a few of you, even based off of what I'm seeing in the chat. So let's go ahead and just talk about where we end with our customers. So, going toward this new technology and moving away from how things maybe have been done before is, just bringing you to that higher level of capability. And, we see VCF in there, which includes NSX, and whatever platform you have works perfectly fine. But just moving you toward that more advanced capability, changing the way the processes work, changing the way the organizations and teams work in combination with each other, understanding that from a networking, a vSphere, and a security team perspective, everybody's going to have some idea and participation in how VMs get created, understanding how security policy works and is applied, and how that works in combination with how the virtual machines consume the networking. So all of this really just changes the way that you're going to think about security in general to meet the goals of the organization, to say, well, we need to meet X level of compliance. We need to make sure that we don't have malware affect our ability to run the business, so on and so forth. We're always driving towards those business goals. And to get there, it's going to take a mindset shift. It's going to change the way that you do things every day. It's going to change the way your organizations understand each other to be able to get there. Because really with this, we're treating virtual machines like VMs for the first time. With a physical machine, you could steer the physical machine's traffic to a firewall. You could install an agent on a physical machine. But what you get with NSX and these capabilities is that differentiator, which is the layer of abstraction represented by the hypervisor, where a lot of this is taking place. So that's the big difference in terms of how we actually treat this solution. So what I'll leave you guys with from a 27 Virtual perspective is that we've done this before. We've been doing this since the very beginning of NSX coming out. So what I would see is a lot of these capabilities that are coming out now are stacking onto and working in combination with the base distributed firewall, which we've been doing for years now. So we have an understanding of how to take customers from no east-west or lateral segmentation at all to that zero trust style model. And we've even taken it all the way to bring customers to that full zero trust solution. So we can start with that base level in the distributed firewall and do the segmentation, the micro segmentation there. And now with that expertise in the experiences that we've had and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, coming in and fixing customers that have struggled with their security solutions and bringing it up to that level, is now we can add on these additional capabilities as well, use what we know from how grouping works and what it takes to create a successful hierarchy, and layer on those additional capabilities. So we've got many, many examples. This is just one of them of coming in and adding this microsegmentation capability and now taking it to the next level. And we'd be happy to go over those with you if you choose. But just know that we have the experience, and our goal is to be the #1 partner for VMware when it comes to implementing security solutions. So that's what we're driving toward as a partner as 27 Virtual, is to uplift and let as many people know what's out there from a security perspective and actually get this deployed and customized for your environment specifically. And we have a track record of doing it and having success with it. So the last thing that I want to share, and I'll pause this presentation here for just a second so that I can pull it up, but is a new offering that we have that pertains to a question that we got in the chat. So give me one moment here to pull it up. But I really want to show you guys this because I think it's a pretty cool offering that we have. Here we go. So check this out. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Come on. But we actually have created this offering here, which is a free 1-day POC for you guys to get the NSX components that needed installed and actually spend a day with us, 27 Virtual, as we prep a couple of your ESXi hosts, build out what's necessary from an NSX perspective to going, and provide just a day of learning for you guys to see how this actually works in your particular environment. So we create some sample security groups. We would enforce some test firewall rules on some test workloads that you guys provide, so you can see the power of this and how it works exactly in your environment. You can start visualizing some flows. You can start building out some example rules, policies, and actually get this going in your own environment. So I don't know why it closed out there, but I'll pull it back up as we finish up. But yeah, we are actually offering a full 1-day POC for you guys if you want to explore this with us, if you see this as an option for you going forward and you want to talk more about how it works and actually see it in your very own environment. So completely free to you, the customer. I'd be happy to spend a day with you guys, talk through this, and see what it would take to actually get it going. But other than that, we're going to move into our open Q&A session. So I'm going to unmute everybody's mic. You can ask any questions that you want. I'll pull up that PDF again so that you guys can see it. And I just want to say thank you all so much for being here. Be on the lookout. We're going to do another one of these where Brian dives even deeper into those advanced security capabilities. But thank you to Brian, thank you to Erica and the team, and from VMware. And stick around if you want to ask some questions or hear those answers. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. So I'm going to unmute everybody's mic. I'm just going to hit allow to talk here. Oh, you don't have to unmute, sorry. All right, so mics are open. If you have any questions for Brian and I, feel free to fire them off. I'm going to pull up that that POC PDF one more time so that you guys can see it a little bit better. But feel free to ask any questions if you have them. Did we have anything left over in the Q&A?
It does not look like it. Looks like we've got them either typed out or we answered them live.
Perfect. Any thoughts or questions from anyone? If you are interested in the POC, feel free to reach out to brent.kaplan@27virtual.com. Let me pull up that POC one more time. So here we go. I'll share this with you guys. And oh, I see something. All right. Robert, thank you for attending. Let me show this. So here it is. So here's a look at the POC. If you are interested, please reach out to us. So this allows us to go in, spend a day with you guys, set up the service-defined firewall in your actual environment, and then actually sandbox this, build it out a little bit with your own workloads. So in this PDF gives you an idea of what we need you to do before the POC so that we can actually spend a successful day and actually work on this together. And some of these specifications of what we would do in that POC. And then the idea is to actually get some firewall rules going, create some groups, build out some of that, that hierarchy so you can get a feel for what's going on, and just spend time answering questions, talk about what we've done with previous customers, how to move toward that zero trust type of model, add in some of the advanced capabilities. And so if you are interested in this, again, you can contact sales@27virtual.com. So sales@27virtual.com. And we'd be happy to send this out to you. You'll probably get a copy just for attending this webinar. And then all you have to do is sign up and let us know that you're interested in participating in this program. And you get to, get that demo, get that 30-day or 60-day license, but also get it set up correctly so that you can consume it in a way that allows you to really test what's going on in here. So feel free to reach out to us on that. But otherwise, again, be on the lookout for our next presentation. And I can't thank everybody enough for being here. We really appreciate your time. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yes, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.